Have you ever wanted to try OBS software, but just been afraid because you thought it was too hard? Today I'm going to show you how to set up OBS right from the beginning. This is an OBS tutorial for beginners. So if you think that you might want to try OBS and you've never been game, now's as good a time as any. You can follow along with this video, or you can play it again later, and hopefully you'll pick up some tips along the way and you'll start using OBS for a more interesting live stream than you would otherwise have had. So the first step, of course, is to go to the OBS website and download the OBS software. And this is what you're looking at here. It is the obsproject.com. That's the website that you go to, and I'll put that down in the description, of course. And then you select whether you are using a Mac or a Windows, and you download that accordingly. Now, there are certainly some interesting things down here to read about on the way through, but I suggest we come back to those later. So once you've downloaded it, you basically open it up and it should look like that. That's basically a blank screen, what you're going to get when you first come to OBS, and you're going to say, well, what do I do from here? Now, a little caveat to this, I couldn't remember whether it opens up like this in the beginning or like this. And either way, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to explain both options to you. So I'm going to go back to this. So if it opens up like this, the first thing that you're going to want to do when you're setting up a live stream, of course, is to make sure that your video is working, make sure that your camera is coming through to OBS. So let's just briefly, very quickly explain. Down here, if you look on the lower left, you've got a scenes column, a sources column, mixers, which are for the microphone, and some fade transitions, which you won't worry about, and the controls, which are quite important over here. So how do we start? Okay, so we've got our first scene, because it comes by default with a scene. Now you can, if you're only going to have one scene, you don't have to do anything to that at all. You can rename it if you want to. So if you want to rename it, you just right click on your mouse and you'll get a rename option there. And then you can rename this. It might just be, I'm going to call this, whoops, delete out scene 1. I'm going to call this camera and chat, because that's what we're going to do in this first basic beginners tutorial. So, whoops, I can't even spell chat right, C-H-A-T, and enter. So this black window you're seeing here is going to be where your camera appears. Now, to add the camera, all you do is it's on the sources page. We go down here to these plus minus buttons at the bottom, and you add plus, and you get a whole lot of different options for different things that you can add. And I'm not going to go through them all now, because remember, this is a beginner's tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down here to this video capture device. If you click on video capture device, you get the option to rename this. Now you could just rename this anything you want, or just leave it as it is. I'm going to rename it to my camera, and then click on OK. And of course you need to have this tick, make source visible. So click on OK. Now it's going to open up a window here that's basically giving you the default camera. If you have more than one camera, you might have to use the drop down menu. But you can see here in my properties of my camera, there I am. Look, you can see me both speaking to you in the bottom as well as in this particular image. So before we finish closing out this one, just a little tip. If you go to configure video, you can always come back to this later, by the way, but if you go to configure video, you'll get the option to change things like the brightness. For example, you can see how bright mine is because I've got a window in front of me. You can change the contrast and all sorts of things, the hue and what have you. I'm going to bring my saturation down, and then I can apply or just hit OK to that. And then finally, I'm not going to worry about any of these other things. Don't you worry about any of that stuff down there. We can come back to that, or we'll talk about that in another video. You just hit OK. And there you go. You've got your video up on the screen. Now in my case, my camera's tilted a little bit odd. I'll just adjust the camera down a fraction, and that's a bit better. Now, I can position myself. I can move over here and talk to you there. It's obviously not filling the whole screen, and I can change that simply by grabbing one of these corners. I simply hold down the mouse and drag the window, and you can have that full screen. And that obviously that's not something that you particularly want. Otherwise, you probably just use Google Hangout for that. But if you want to just make it smaller, you can reframe it that way on one of those, or grab a side window, for example. And again, you can see the ratio of height to width stays the same, but you can change that, and that's one of the things you might like to know about. As you'll see in this, I'm using a green screen behind me, but I've got the edge of the green screen showing. And what if I don't want that? In fact, what if I don't want all of this window at all? All I have to do is hold down the Alt button on my keyboard and then drag the edge window, and watch what happens now. I can make the window any size I want. So there you go. I can just move it in and out, get rid of the stuff I don't want. I don't want that side, so I just want to be able to talk like that. And then when I take my finger off the Alt button, I can now just grab the window and move it again wherever I want. So that's how to use the video capture device. And then obviously we need to now see, well, what are we going to do with the rest of this? You may have seen that I put some text in one of mine. So to add text, add whatever text you want. It might just be welcome. You might want to say something particularly different. Maybe your live stream is promoting a charity, for example, and you want to say, please donate to, you know, hungry children of the world or something. So whatever it is you want to do to add text, you simply come back down here to the bottom, to the plus minus in the source code again, click plus, and this time we'll add text. So click on the text button. You can name this text again, same you did with the other one that we just did, the video capture device. You could just change that to whatever you want. I'll just leave that for now. I click OK, and it comes up with this window. Now that's obviously going to be a place where I can put in the text I want. It gives me the ability to change the fonts to whatever I want. And if we scroll down, you get to change the opacity, the color of the font, and so on and so forth. Now, just for simplicity, I'm just going to simply write the word welcome, W-E-L-C-O-M-E, and I'm going to mess around with a couple of things. I'm going to change the font style to, let's just pick something else down here. What else do I use? What if we go something fancy? No, we won't use that one. How about we use Rowdy Heavy? Okay. And that's the font I've decided to use, and I can change the color of the font by going down here to where it says color, select the color. Might want to take that to yellow, for example, and then just click OK. And look, the font's up here in the top left-hand corner, but it's really small, so I need to drag it where I want it. Just grab it, drag it, and it's not big enough. Then obviously you just grab a corner and stretch it out. And the third thing that you might be interested to try and do when you're with OBS is add an image. You might have a logo that you like. You might have a particular photo that you want to have included on your screen. So let's add an image. Again, back down here to sources, add image. Now I'm gonna add my logo, so I'm just going to call it logo. Then I'm going to click OK. And now I have to select what image I want, where the file is. So I go to Browse and Pictures, and go to my logo, which is down here somewhere. And I'm going to use this one, and OK. And it's too big this time. Remember, the welcome was too small, this one's too big. So that's easily fixed again. Grab one of the corners, make it as small as you want, and position it wherever you want. So that's how you do that one. And finally, and probably what a lot of people like to see, is the chat window. How do we get the chat window? And that's why I've left the space here on the right hand side for the chat window. So to get the chat window, you have to go and grab something from your YouTube live stream. So let's go back over there to that. I'll just bring that up. We're going to go to my Creator Studio over here. And that will bring me through to the Creator Studio, which is this one. And then I'm going to go to live streaming, because that's we need information from here. So I'm going to click on live streaming, which will open up this window. And to get the chat working, what you do is, here is the chat now. Just ignore that thumbnail. That was from my last live stream, and I'll be changing that. You don't have to have a thumbnail, but strongly recommend that you do add a thumbnail. And you can do that by down here at the bottom. You just say change thumbnail. I might just click change thumbnail now while we're here and change it to something else. Might go to, let's see. Oh, let's just go to pictures and add a generic picture for the time being. We'll add that logo again. So I'll put in this logo here. And in just a tick, that will change to my logo instead. It's just taking a while to do that. But I came here to grab the, there it is. I came here to grab the chat. How do I get the chat? See this chat here? That's the chat for the live stream if you're using OBS. Oh, by the way, have a look at what I've done here. I've muted this. See that there? That's muted. I strongly suggest that you mute that so that you don't get any feedback loops or any echo happening in your live stream. So to the chat, there it is there. And as you can see, if I just click in there, I can write something. Hi guys. And that comes up there. But to get it into OBS, what I suggest you do is you go to click on these three dots here. Go to pop out chat. And once you've popped it out so that it's now separate to the rest of the page, it's going to give you this web address. Copy all of that. Copy it. We're going to go back to OBS and we're going to add the chat. To add chat, we go down here to sources, click plus, and we're going to go to, where are we? We're going to go to browser. Here, click on browser, and you again can rename this. You could rename that to chat or whatever you want. Click on OK, and by default it automatically comes up with the link to the OBS website. So just overwrite that or delete it and paste in the link that you just got. And once I hit OK to that, give it a second. And there is, pardon me, there is the chat bar. So that's basically how you do that. You then can readjust this. If it doesn't fit, you can see it doesn't fit on the side there where I wanted it to fit. So I can just hold down the Alt key, move that in, and that's basically how I would fit that in there. I can drag this down. And again, move the Alt key if I want. And there we go. Basically, there you go. You're set up for OBS. But how do you actually make it work? How do you make it show on your YouTube and have other people come? So basically here we've got, I keep saying basically, don't know why I'm doing that. So what we have to do is we have to go back over to our YouTube, back to our Creator Studio. And when you're here on this page, on the Stream Now button, so we've come into live stream, we're on the Stream Now button. If you scroll down the page, and you'll see that I've added in a title here already. I've added in some text, and that's what you need to do. Make sure you do that before you start so that it's already up there for you. And if you want to go straight from OBS, then you got to make sure that this is public. If you leave it as unlisted, obviously, or private, no one's going to be able to see anything. And the most important bit of information that you need is this, the encoder setup. So what you're going to need to do is you are going to need to grab the encoder setup information. Where do I put that? Have a look over here on OBS. You go down here to settings. And then once you open settings, you go to stream. And it's asking you for the stream key. Streaming services is what I'm selected, and these are drop-down menus. On service, I've selected YouTube/YouTube Gaming from the drop-down menus. See, there's different ones there you can use. On my server, backup YouTube server, ingest server, or primary YouTube ingest server. I've been using backup without any dramas at all. And the stream key, that's where you have to paste in the stream key that you get from YouTube. So back onto YouTube. There is the stream key, stream name/key, and I can copy that, and then I'm going to go back to OBS and put in Control V. That's better. Okay, and then you just hit apply or OK to this. So you're basically all set up now, except you're not live yet. To be live, what do you have to do? You have to simply click Start Streaming. There are a ton of other things you can do in OBS, and this is just barely scratching the surface, but that's what you need to do. There you go. We're basically live and streaming. And how do we know that? It says we're live down here. Look right down here on the bottom right-hand corner. It says live for 12 seconds. And gives us interesting information here about the amount of CPU we're using, the frames per second, etc., etc. And you'll see also when I'm talking that in the mixer, you've got these are working with every time I speak, you'll see that that moves, so you can check that your microphone's working properly. That's enough for today, I think. Get started with OBS, have a bit of fun with it. I'll be making further instructional videos for the tutorials on OBS, but this was a beginner one, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Aussie Mark. Thank you very much for being here. If you're not a member of my community already, please go ahead and click that support button, that subscriber button, so that you can be a member of my Aussie Mark community, and of course, so that you can be here and see what I do next by clicking the bell as well. You guys have a great day. Take care. Bye for now.